Yes, indeed. Wow. As Shannon Powell would say, wow. Not because of what I just played, but because of how much fun I just had. Yeah, man, Wednesday nights coming at you live. This has been a lifesaver, at least for me. And shout out to my good friend and my trusty engineer, audio and visual. We've been figuring, there he is, there's Nick. Nick Solnick.
I'll have the Nick cam in a second.
He'll be getting the Nick cam up in just a second. And he'll be fielding questions when we get into questions. And I want to give a shout out to my good friend, Anders Osborne, who I got to hang out with a little bit yesterday. We hung out outside. And it was great to see him. And I'm giving him a shout out because he was one of the first musicians, at least one of the first musicians in my circle to start streaming. And I got super inspired by that. And I was like, man, that's something I could do and that I could do on a Wednesday night and hope to keep doing it once we start going back out into the world safely. But this has been great to hear from y'all, to interact with y'all, to learn more about this. I figured, man, we'll just start doing it on a weekly basis and we'll learn a little each week. So that was a tune by my good friend, and I consider him a teacher and a mentor, Tony DeGrati. He started at Loyola when I did, and he started as a teacher. And he's a fantastic saxophone player, and he had me play on that record. That's a record that he did. He had me play on some of it and had Brian Blade play on some of it, and it's all saxophone. And it's super funky, and Tony's time and his feel are so happening. So the low end you were hearing on that was Barry sax. Every instrument you were hearing on that was some sort of form of sax. And I was slated to play with Tony at Jazz Fest. That didn't happen this year. So I wanted to play that tune and share that with y'all. Shout out to Tony. So here's a tune I'm going to play, and any of you who are familiar with my playing have heard me play this tune, but I'm going to try to throw some different stuff in there and play it a little differently than I might normally play it live with my band Galactic. So shout out to my brothers in Galactic, and shout out to the Queen of New Orleans Soul, who is our guest on this track. So as Nick and I were sound checking this, man, I was getting chills, like, oh man, just thinking about the great Irma Thomas and about the times that I've gotten to play with her and about the record that I got to make with her called After the Rain, which is a record that we made post Katrina. So think about the records that people are going to be making post COVID. So I can feel it, man. Friends of mine are reaching out. They're itching to make records and create, and you know, the kind of panic element of all of this is starting to kind of subside, and now people are like, all right, I want to create. So it's great to be hearing. I heard from Eric Lindell today. He wants to do some tracks. Anders and I are talking about doing some tracks. Joe Ashlar sent me some tracks that I'm going to be playing too. So, you know, man, I'm starting to get inspired. You know, the panic, it's still a frightening situation we're in, but I'm starting to feel creativeness happening. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this tune. This is Heart of Steel with Galactic and the great Irma Thomas playing on this one, and I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to intentionally try to play it a little different than I might. Nick's got his Nick cam going.
I'm working on it.
He's working on it. He's going to start this next play along, and I'm going to play, and then we're going to get into some discussion, some questions, hopefully I'll have some answers. Oh, my mom is watching. So hi, Mom. Want to say hello. I got to see that she was in, as I was looking right before we started. I was like, oh, it says Ann Moore is watching. So hi, Mom. And Nick, whenever you're ready, I'm ready.
All right. Coming at you.
Coming at you. I'm going to intentionally play this differently.
Known better than to run through a ring of fire. I should have known better than to shoot with a gun to hide. I should have known better to repeat everything I've seen. I should have known better, but now it don't mean a thing. Deep down inside, I got a heart of steel. I'll take the pain, turn it into something real. Deep down inside, I got a heart of gold. It's too late to change the past. I'll be the first to admit should have left where I love belong. I should have known better than to sit back and watch it burn. I should have known better than to stick to the rules I've learned. Should have known better than to stare down a voodoo queen. I should have known better, but now it don't mean a damn thing. Deep down inside, I got a heart of steel. I'll take the pain, turn it into something real. Deep down inside, I got a heart of gold. It's too late to change the past. I'll be the first to admit should have left where I love belong. Deep down inside, I got a heart of steel. I'll take the pain, turn it into something real. Deep down inside, I got a heart of gold. It's too late to change the past. I'll be the first to admit should have left where I love belong.
Yeah! For kicks, I started throwing in the Purdy shuffle to give a shout out to Ash Sohn, who I did a fun stream with earlier today for Gretsch Generations live stream. That can be reviewed on the Gretsch Facebook and YouTube channels. And Ash is great at playing the halftime shuffle. And I've been reading the Jeff Porcaro book and listening to a lot of the tracks that he played on. So I threw that in there a little bit. Give a shout out to Jeff Porcaro, Bernard Purdy, Ash Sohn. Of course, John Bonham played his version of the Purdy Shuffle on Fool in the Rain. And I was reading the book, the Jeff Porcaro book, I think it was yesterday, or the night before. And I came up to a part and they were talking about, so Danny Kortzmeyer, Cooch, was talking about this song that Jeff came up with a really interesting part on. And the song was in 6/8 or 3/4. And Jeff worked hard to come up with an interesting part that was not common for this Ivan Neville song on an Ivan Neville record. And I was like, man, that's so cool. So I underlined Ivan's name and I took a picture of the cover and I sent it to Ivan. I was like, man, they just mentioned you in this Jeff Porcaro book. Robin Flans, the author, just mentioned you in this Jeff Porcaro book. That's so cool. And so Ivan texted back, man, that's awesome. And then when he got a moment, he called me. He's like, man, it's so cool. We did some tracks from one of my records at Jeff's house. And he had, converted this, Ivan called it a garage. I've heard it was like a building, but it was this, this building behind Jeff's house that he converted into like a real studio, like real mixing board, tape machines, and so he would do sessions there, and Ivan did some stuff there. He said, man, he was the coolest dude. He says, I gotta tell you, he said, man, there was this one time when my car was in the shop and I was at the studio, and Jeff offered to give me a ride home, and he drove me home, me and my then wife and daughter. He drove us home, man. He said he was the coolest, most generous, kindest dude you ever met. And so, I'm reading the book, and it's like, you when you start putting it all together, all the stuff that he did, like he started Toto at the height of his session career, and people thought he was nuts to like give up. They thought he'd be walking away from a session career. He's like, no, I'll be able to do both. I'll come back in town. People are like, they're gonna start calling somebody else. But you can't call somebody else if you want Jeff Porcaro. And he was wise enough to be like, nah, I'll be all right. And then, of course, Toto went on to have monster hits with Hold the Line, Rosanna, Africa, one of my wife's favorite tunes. Shout out to Lauren. And, then you look back and say, man, he played on Michael Jackson's Beat It. He played on Boss Skaggs' Lido Shuffle. Like, just the body of work that he did. And every person that you talk to who came into contact with him says that he was just the coolest dude on the planet. So that's a little story I told you. But that's why I just inadvertently started throwing in some halftime shuffle. I was like, oh, why did I do that? Oh, because I've been reading the Jeff Porcaro book and reading about him playing halftime shuffle on Rosanna and hinting at it on other tracks. So when I'm playing, sometimes it's like things come out. And it's like, why did that come out? It's like, oh yeah, because I've been reading that book and thinking a lot about Jeff, and had a live stream with Ash, both two guys who are masters of the Purdy shuffle, so the halftime shuffle. So yeah, I like to make these live streams impromptu, play some drums, tell some stories, take some questions. So I usually like to start off with questions that are general, and then we get into more drum-related questions, because the drummers usually like hearing about music stuff, band stuff, Tipitina's stuff, what's coming up stream-wise, gig-wise stuff, and then if you're not interested in the drum stuff, then you can trail off at the end. But I'm really excited that tomorrow night's the 31st, and it's New Year's Eve, and we're pulling off 5 bands on 5 different channels. Well, 5 bands from 5 different, I'm in Stream World, 5 bands from 5 different venues. So we've got my brother Anders Osborne coming at you from DBA. We've got Samantha Fish coming at you from Chickie Wawa. We've got the Rebirth Brass Band coming at you from Maple Leaf. We've got Dumpster Funk coming at you from the Holland Wolf. And we've got Galactic coming at you from Tipitina's. And 4 of those will have New Year's salutations for 4 different time zones. Our host is John Goodman. Much thanks to John for showing up and helping us with that and hosting it and emceeing it and we really appreciate his participation. So it's been a pretty large group effort to make all this happen, and I'm excited about it. So it's going to be awesome to check it out. So Nick, with your
What's up?
Nick's got the Nick cam. Yes, indeed. So
Got some questions already.
got some questions already. So Nick is gonna read. What's the word I'm looking for? He's gonna
Field. I'm gonna field.
field. That's the word I was looking for. I was thinking parlay. No, field. See, that's why I've
Field
got
the
you around, man. This wouldn't be any fun to do by myself. It's like me and Nick's like little thing that we've been doing.
It's our hang.
It's our hang.
It's the only hang we have.
It's the only hang we've got. Man, I miss hangs. Y'all remember hangs? Remember when you could like be standing somewhere and like somebody you hadn't seen in like several weeks or several months could just walk up and be like, "Hey," and give you a big hug, and then like, and y'all could have a drink together and sit and talk for hours. Like, you remember that? I hope we can get back to that.
You'll make me cry, dude.
I miss hangs, man. I miss hangs. God. All right.
So we got questions. This one seems to prop up a lot. Everybody wants to know when that prototype symbol's coming out.
Man, that's a good question. I know it is. I mean, everybody's been going through a lot of challenges through all this, and so right before things started shutting down, I talked about it with Joe Testa, and we are going to plan on it. I mean, Zildjian is dealing with a lot, like everyone is, and it's definitely on the radar. I love that y'all keep asking about it, because that'll just make the anticipation that much more. And I'll make it when you finally get one in your hands, you'll appreciate it that much more. But since you brought it up, I'm gonna play it a little bit. I mean, I designed it to be trashy, but something that you could ride on and crash on, that you can play in every context, from swinging out to funk to groove to heavy metal. Check it out. So people ask, like, when I'm playing, do I hear a song in my head? And the answer is yes. Sometimes I pick a song and then I'll play it. Sometimes I'll just start playing and a song comes into my head. You know, I was just playing between swinging out and grooving and heavier stuff. And when I went into the heavier stuff, I thought about my friend Pepper Keenan. I talked to him today on the phone. And then I was like, oh man, I want to play some of that swampy New Orleans in between straight and swing shuffle. I went into that. I started thinking about Anders because I've been talking to him lately, and Johnny Sansone. Anders and I made an incredible record with Johnny Sansone called "The Lord Is Waiting," and I mean it's one of the records that I'm most proud of. If y'all haven't heard that record, check it out. "The Lord Is Waiting." It's just me, Anders, and Johnny Sansone, and Anders is like he's EQ'd the guitar so it's covering the low end, but there's no bass on the record, and it's one of my proudest moments of making music, because we just went in it and we're just like, Johnny was going through a rough time and we're just like, man, you've been writing songs, now's the time to make the record. And he's like, no, I'm not ready. And Anders was like, man, now's the perfect time. Like, what are you talking about? We went in and we were able to be so creative and just think outside the box. Some of the stuff that we came up with on that record, I really, really dig. And that song, "The Lord Is Waiting," that's the song that I was kind of having in my head when I was playing that. That song not only got nominated, but won Song of the Year for the Memphis Blues Awards. And I got nominated for Drummer of the Year at the Memphis Blues Awards. And Chris Layton won, as he should, for his career and his work with Stevie Ray Vaughan. But I was just honored to be nominated and go and get to play that song live with Johnny Sansone and Anders and Tab Benoit. And it was like, New Orleans in the house at the Memphis Blues Awards because of that Johnny Sansone record. It was killing. And so that's me going off on a tangent, talking about this symbol. But that's why I love this. It's like, just give me one little thing and I'll start talking about that, and then I will go into something else. As y'all have started to learn about me, I love to talk. So, Nick, I see some words up there.
Lots of words.
Lots of words.
Lots of words.
So yeah, is your mic on? So
Yeah,
they can hear? I can hear you.
Here, can you hear me? Yeah, cool. So let's see. Just scrolling down. We've got a couple questions about independence, building independence on the drums. But if you want to get some more drum specific questions. Here's a cool one. Someone is asking something about so Josh Duncan asks, was it really the first time you and Les Claypool played on stage together, other than some Galactic sit-ins at the Bastard Jazz Show at the Jazz Fest?
Yeah. I mean, yes, that's true. Les had sat in with Galactic a couple times, and maybe I sat in like on a second drum set for one of his Flying Frog Brigade shows, maybe. But like as a gig, like that's the first time we've played more than one song in a row together on a stage. That's the first time that we've been together as a unit. That wasn't a sit-in. That was like us as the band. But we've hung a lot, and we've been friends for a long time, and we grew up listening to a lot of the same records. I mean, I knew that, like, oh yeah, man. Like, his favorite musicians to play with are Mike Dillon and Skerrick. Two of my favorite musicians to play with are Mike Dillon and Skerrick. I knew that when you put him on bass, he and Charlie Hunter are good friends. They grew up together in the Bay Area. So I knew when you just take Charlie and put in less, I was like, it's going to work. I had no doubts. So, you know, I had Les send me a few tunes, and then we did a rehearsal. But the rehearsal was just a jam. We just improvised for 45 minutes. And then we were like, I think we're good. And we went on stage and just improvised. And then we did it again at Jam Cruise, which was, you know, like months later, and it was completely different. So I'm really looking forward to getting to play with Les more. He reached out closer to the beginning. He's like, hey man, looking forward to when we can get back and play some more. Because we were going to try to plan some stuff, you know, at the beginning of 2020, we were going to plan some stuff for the back of 2020, I think. But, you know, it's just stuff to look forward to. We just got to do what we have to do to get through this. And then hopefully we'll be able to get back to some of the things that we were looking forward to and are looking forward to.
So,
yeah, you're right.
just kind of bouncing out there, you talk about Mike Dillon. Somebody from YouTube, Xylos for Kids, was asking about, you know, your thoughts playing with people like who are playing marimba or vibraphone, and like, what is that? How do you approach that?
Yeah, I love it because obviously marimba, vibraphone, xylophone, they're all percussion instruments. And so they're pitched percussion instruments. And so it's fun because it's like you're playing with other drummers, but yet they're playing percussion instruments that can play melodies and play harmony. And so I've been playing with Mike Dillon's punk rock percussion consortium for a while, and that's just an absolute blast. And then I've also been playing with the LSU percussion ensemble, Hammer Rouge. And, you know, I played in percussion ensemble when I was in high school and in college, but then I didn't start playing in any percussion ensembles until started doing the Mike Dillon stuff about, I don't know, 7 years ago, maybe more than that now. But you know, Mike arranging some of his compositions for percussion ensemble, and it's super fun and killer. And then now playing with the LSU percussion ensemble, and sometimes that's 20, you know, more than 20 people. So I love it. It's killer. It's fun. If anybody's interested in seeing that, there's Palta. We did the tune Palta, and that's up on my YouTube channel. That's with the LSU percussion ensemble. There's a couple other things that we did. Brad Dietz and I did a duo called Perched. We put that up. That was composed by Chad Heine, but that's just a duo. I'm trying to think of other things that we've done, but there's several pieces that I've done with the LSU percussion ensemble on my YouTube channel. So anybody who's interested in that, it's like, people ask, how many bands are you in? It's like, I don't know, it's hard to say, because I mean, I'm sometimes in the LSU percussion ensemble. I'm sometimes in Mike Dillon's punk rock percussion consortium. I'm sometimes in Les Claypool's bastard jazz. I play with Leo Nocentelli, but then I play with Galactic, Garage à Trois, Anders Osborne, Dragon Smoke, Frequinox, my piano trio with David Torkanowski and James Singleton, my organ trio, which sometimes is Robert Walter and Will Bernard. Sometimes it's Joe Ashlar and Danny Abel. And I love it. I feel blessed and grateful that I've been able to do all of that in my career. Play with so many great musicians, but guys that I also consider friends. And, you know, it's challenging to get through all this right now, but I keep trying to focus on that, like the good things that we have going on that we're going to be able to get back to. But then the good things that we have right in front of us. You know, if you've got somebody that you know needs a little reaching out to during this time, man, reach out. You know, that's how I've been getting through this. Been reaching out to my friends and checking on people and hearing from people, and it's been good. Nick is going to
Fielding.
some more questions.
So most of the other questions are we're getting into drum land.
Okay.
So let's get drummy.
I like drums. Drums are cool.
Oh, I guess there's like one more cool. I think I don't know. Maybe this is cool. We'll maybe shortly talk about this one, and then we'll get into drums. So, do you feel that the whole COVID experience will have influence on the feel of music created post-quarantine? For example, music that is more edgy and aggressive, music that is more ethereal and ambient. What do you think?
That is a good question, and I think it's going to be a case by case basis. For me, like when I'm even playing along to play-alongs, I'm more focused on communicating, transmitting, emitting joy. So I hope that my music coming out of this will have more joy, more, and it depends. It depends on the song I'm playing, but you know, the times that I've been able to play outside with Joe Ashlar and Danny Abel, we were just all so joyous to be playing together. Then I got to play with Mike Dillon, Brian Haas, and James Singleton outside at Tipitina's. So much joy. But getting to play with David Torkanowski and James Singleton, just streaming, no audience. So much joy, you know. And so, and you know, when I've streamed with Galactic lately too, I'm trying to come at it from a place of happiness and joy. Whereas pre-COVID, I think I was trying to, you know, be the best drummer I possibly can be, and you know, play as flawlessly as possible. And now I'm like, man, let's just have fun. You know, let's have fun. Let's enjoy it, because you never know when the last time you're gonna get to play is. I mean, who would have thought that, like, March 13th, this is the last night you get to play for people, you know? And then here we are. So it's going to be a case-by-case basis, because everybody's different, you know? I'm sure some people will be making more ethereal. Some people will be making more aggressive music. You know, I talked to Eric Lindell today, and he sang me a riff, and then he played me the riff. And then I got to my studio and I was like, oh, you want the drums to be like this? And I put my phone on a tripod, so I was just FaceTiming with him. I'm like, it's gonna be distorted, but check it out. And it was like, boom, check it, it's like more like classic punk rock. And he's like, yeah, people haven't heard me play like that. I want to do that. I grew up on that stuff. He still skateboards, man. Eric Lindell is a badass skateboarder. You should see him. Check out his Instagram. He posts videos of him skating pools sometimes. So, you know, he's going to come out with a more aggressive record. You know, Anders Osborne posted just a beautiful, poignant song yesterday that he finished, and he put it up on Instagram. And I swear to God, I teared up watching it. Right before Nick walked in the room, I was sitting in my chair over here, just looking at Instagram, and Anders yesterday he finished that song and posted it, and it's beautiful. So, you know, different people are going to make different kinds of music and different songs, you know. Eric might come out with a love song record in addition to his punk rock record. So, you know, different people are going to have different. We're going to think back on this for the next 5, 10, 20, 50 years. And, you know, I'm going to like think back on this in 10 years and think about like different things that happened during this period and how they affected me, and you process them over time, you know. It's like, that's a good question, but it's the answer is going to be different for different people at different times, I think.
All right, now into the drum stuff. So we got a few questions about building four-way independence. Maybe you could just show us some good exercises for building four-way independence.
Sure. So my approach to independence is to work on grooves or ideas that would also work for a song, that I could also play on a gig. So I like to pursue things that will work in multitudes of situations. Okay, so one thing we could do, of course, I mean, when I was a teenager, I worked through the Jim Chapin book, and that's cool. A lot of it is a lot of exercises, and it's cool. The John Riley book, Art of Bop Drumming, takes that concept of playing different things against the ride cymbal, and he makes it more like things that you could play on a gig. So that's one of the classic approaches to four-way independence. Whether you're going to swing out and play jazz, black American music, swinging, or not, a lot of people start off with this, playing the ride cymbal pattern 2 and 4 on the hi-hat, and then adding things to it. Now, I admittedly changed up the ride cymbal pattern a little bit there, because you want to make music with it. But you start off, I mean, you could start off with that, and where, okay, you play all the upbeats, right, on the snare drum. Now, admittedly, the first time you do that, it takes a minute to get it together, and then on the bass drum. Then you might split them up. Then I split them up to where I was playing singles, then doubles, then paradiddles, all on upbeats. But that's not going to get you anywhere musically. So the goal of working on that stuff is so that you can develop the independence, so that you can eventually have a conversation with your snare drum and your bass drum while you're swinging out. So in that instance, I was literally thinking of a make-believe conversation between Nick and I. I was like, Nick, what did you eat today? I had some tacos. I had a burrito. Where did you get that, bro?
Barracuda.
Yeah. And then it's like, I'm serious. I mean, serious. And then the conversation gets more and more involved. But that's music. Music is about a conversation, and this stuff that we're doing on the snare drum and the bass drum is supposed to complement comp the conversation that's going on between the musicians. So if you're swinging out in this context, and you got a piano player and he plays some stuff, you want to be able to So that's what independence is for, is so that you can have something to say in the conversation that is music. And right now, the bass drum and the snare drum are conversing with each other underneath the continuity of the ride cymbal pattern. But the only reason to do that is so that you've got something to say when the piano player says something, or when the horn player says something, or, you know. So that's one of the approaches to independence, and there are books and books and books written about that stuff, about playing stuff against the ride cymbal pattern. I like the John Riley book, Art of Bop Drumming, but there are tons of other ones, and I'm working on stuff that's even simpler than John's stuff, like Intro to Independence, right? Which I've been sharing with my LSU students. Now, that's one thing. Now, another is let's play the Mambo bass drum pattern, right? So I'm gonna try to play it soft and talk to y'all. So this bass drum pattern works under so many things, right? Now, what you want to do is play singles, but can you play doubles over it? Then can you play paradiddles? Okay, great. But like I said, that ain't gonna get you no gigs. Like none. Like zero. So what will get you gigs? That bass drum pattern, and then learning how to play like Afro-Cuban stuff on top of it. This is like the Mozambique on top of it. All right, that's one Mozambique. Here's another one. I'm keeping all these at the same tempo. Now you got to learn how to play Hey Pocky Way on top of that. Now here's a Johnny Vadakovich Mardi Gras New Orleans Mambo. Let me turn off the snares. Now I'm going to play a train beat on top of it. Now I'm going to play my left, left, right, left, right, left, right, right sticking on top of it. Now, learn how to solo over it. wasn't thinking about independence. I was thinking about music, about making music. But I've spent enough time playing with my hands being independent of what's going on with that foot pattern that I can do that. But it came over years of playing gigs, years of playing this little fill over it, that little fill. Getting to where I can play anything I want over it. And it took me a lot of time, but you can study that out of books, or you can just be like, this is usable. I'm gonna learn how to do everything I can with this. So, you know, let's take, like, I call this the Bernard Purdy hand pattern, right? So it's basically the ride cymbal pattern in the right hand, right? So check it out. So it's basically a straightened out ride cymbal pattern in the right hand, and I'm adding a little tape because I had tape and then it came off. It must be humid here in New Orleans, and this drum sounds so good with the tape on it. So I'm just gonna put a little tape, and this drum was sent to me just in time for Christmas by Ron Danette, my good friend. Look at how beautiful this thing is. Oh, it's so pretty. Shout out to Ron Danette. Send him some love. If you know Ron Danette, or if you don't, just reach out to him. He's got Facebook, Instagram, all that. Danette Classic Drums. This is a solid Plymouth poplar. So check it out. So this Bernard Purdy hand pattern, basically chit, 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 right? On the hi-hat. And then playing backbeat, but you're playing a chatter note on 2E, 4E, but you're playing 1E, 2E, 4E, right? But you're playing 1E and 2E, and 4E. That's what's going on in the left hand. 1E and 2E, E and 4E. And then the right hand's playing the straight ride cymbal pattern. All right, so what do you do with that? Let's learn how to play our Mambo bass drum pattern under it. Then let's learn how to play the Mr. Magic, which also happens to be a bass pattern that shows up a lot in go-go. Check it out. That admittedly is not go-go, but Mr. Magic bass drum pattern, just that rhythm, right? Right? Then learn how to do all the E's and Ahs. Then learn how to do this boom go gong 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 go gong, right? So what I like to do is kind of come up with, I guess you would call them practical systems, and then learning how to do different things with them. Sometimes against them, but I think about it as it's all as one person. So not so much independence, but interdependence. And that's kind of how I like to think about things, is in that more practical way. Man, it's amazing how time flies. It's 7:02. We did start a couple minutes late. Oh, geez, I keep forgetting. The classic Michael McDonald tune that Jeff Porcaro played on. I keep forgetting we're not in love anymore. Nobody wants to hear me sing, so I won't.
That's about 3 octaves too low.
Yeah, he's so killing, man. Michael McDonald. God, it's so awesome. But I just sing for comedic effect. Michael McDonald is a real singer, killing, amazing singer. But okay, but I keep forgetting. That's my point. To mention tonight, I kept forgetting to mention if you're liking the way that I present drum information, I would love for you to come check out the Stanton Moore Drum Academy. There's a 14-day trial. And if you like it and you stay in, it'll start charging you monthly. And a lot of this information is at StantonMooreDrumAcademy.com. Nick and I have been filming a lot. There's a new 5-lesson course on shuffles, and that's on the Academy. And there's a forum, community forum, tons of video lessons accompanied with PNGs and notation. Some people like to learn more by video. Some people like to learn more by notation. All of it's there. So a lot of these questions I'm getting, the answers are very in-depth at StantonMooreDrumAcademy.com. Also, Nick has up there the virtual tip jar, which anything that you can help out and contribute or donate during this time is greatly appreciated. All proceeds go to needy families. Ours. That's a Johnny Vadakovich joke that I heard all growing up. So, man, we appreciate y'all. And if you have questions that didn't get answered, please come back next week. We'll be here again next week, COVID permitting. So you never know.
Always the threat of lockdown.
Right. There's always yeah, exactly. So I want to say thank y'all. This has been fun. It's been great it's been great interacting with y'all. And hopefully we'll get to see you soon in person. We're going to sign out. We appreciate y'all tuning in. See y'all down the line. Thank you. Good night.